path strings. When a program's running, there is always a current directory, current working directory. We've seen that when you run a project in MonoDevelop, that default directory is 2 levels below the project directory. Files that are in the current working directory can be referred to just by their name, like sample.txt, as we've used before. On the other hand, files that are not in the current directory make life more complicated. You should be aware of the basic directory system on your machine. In Windows Explorer, in the Finder on a Mac, you see a hierarchy of directories, and then inside directories there are individual files. One thing to note that is on the Mac, the file system is unified in one hierarchy, whereas on Windows, each drive has a separate hierarchy. Files are generally referred to by a chain of directories before the final name of the file desired. A path string is used to represent such a sequence of names. The elements need to be separated by something, and in Windows they have the punctuation with a backslash, and with a Mac it's a forward slash. So the two operating systems are different. For instance, on a Mac, /users/ANH starts from the root of the hierarchy, which has a subdirectory users, then we've got a slash, and then ANH is a subdirectory of that. Happens to be my home directory on my Mac. Similar notation with Windows, except you may indicate which drive to refer to even before you get to the hierarchy. C drive is the common place for things to be on Windows. And then we have the root of the hierarchy, backslash, not forward slash, on a Windows machine. And on a Windows machine there is a Windows subdirectory with another subdirectory after the backslash, System32, for instance. Paths that start with a slash, forward or back here, are called absolute paths. This distinguishes them from relative paths. Since there is always a current directory, you can refer to a path relative to that directory, in which case you do not start with a slash. For example, most people's home directories have a downloads directory as a subdirectory, and the downloads directory might contain source.zip if you've downloaded our examples. So relative to the home directory, this file could be referred to as downloads, that's the subdirectory, and then the separator, and then within that directory it's source.zip. And of course, on a Mac, we have the other separator. Similarly, if we start off in a MonoDeveloped project directory, the way it's set up, it has a subdirectory bin, and that has a subdirectory debug, where the executable program is, and so we would refer to that place from the project folder with bin /debug for Windows or bin / on a Mac. By the way, if we just use a simple name, that's actually an example of using relative paths that refers to right in the current directory. Generally, we go down the hierarchy, giving a further directory name, but you can go up the hierarchy using the special symbolism ... It makes you go up one level in the directory chain. The next up directory is sometimes called the parent. For example, the execution directory for a MonoDevelop project is 2 levels below the project directory. So let's imagine that the current directory is this execution directory. Then ... refers to the directory 1 level up, which is bin, 1 level up from debug, and then with ... twice, we would work our way back up to the project directory. Then, if we wanted to refer to numbers.txt in that directory, we could refer to it as ... // numbers.txt, with a slash in one direction or the other depending on operating system. Finally, occasionally you need to refer explicitly to the current directory. It's referred to with a single dot. Now, having these different versions of paths for Windows and a Mac are definitely a pain. Luckily, C# abstracts away these differences. It has a path class. It's in the system.io namespace, and it provides many handy functions for dealing with paths in an operating system independent way. For one thing, C# knows the path separator character. It's stored in this property of the path class. Even more useful is inside the path class we have the function path.combine. It takes any number of string parameters for the sequential parts of a path and creates a single string that's appropriate for the current operating system. For example, path.combine with bin and debug would put them together so that in Windows you'd have bin \debug, or on a Mac bin /debug. Similarly, if we combined ... another ... and numbers.txt, we would get back the string we were just talking about. Again, on a Windows machine, it would give back this string with the backslashes, and on a Mac, it would give back this string with the /. You can look in the path class in the Microsoft Developer Network. Let's have a look. Here's the path class, and there's just a few functions here that you can use. There are also two other useful classes mentioned briefly. There is a directory class, also in the same namespace. And you can look also in the MSDN website for lots of useful things to mess with things in directories. For instance, to check if a path represents an actual directory. We've already mentioned the file class. We have used the file.exists function. Again, you can look in the MSDN documentation for many other uses of the file class.